What is happening? What's good, y'all?
Hey, everybody.
Nothing is good. Nothing.
That's
when
not
I
an
was like
encouraging
trying
way.
to compile some news for today to talk about, it's like it's all bad. And like it's all bad a lot of days, but
should I say my
know.
tagline where I just look into the camera real sweetly and go, "It's bad."
Yeah.
It's bad.
That's
going to be one of our shirts.
It's bad.
When we open the merch store, one of our shirts will be, "It's bad."
It's bad. Shit's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So
hello, everyone.
What's Kennedy? What strikes you as the worst thing happening right now? Is it CHOP or something else?
The CHOP thing really upsets me, obviously, because like that's like the kind of politics that I believe in some ways most strongly, is that kind of like direct organizing kind of stuff. And for a while, like the stance towards the CHOP situation in Seattle was like, we're gonna like kind of tentatively allow this for a little while, and then the police decided that was no longer the case. And the reasons why are just kind of like, if you put it in any real frame of reference, it's ridiculous. If you just say why this happened in like a very like simple like manner, like it's like it, you could kind of see why people like a lot of people have like an immediate reaction of like, well, I guess I had to go, but it actually doesn't make any sense. And it's just, it's upsetting. I mean, like,
Are we gonna talk Zapatistas again? Because
I
always want to talk Zapatistas.
I feel like we can, but first we got to point out some real obvious shit. All right, so when we've been talking, I've been trying to provide y'all with like some historical perspective of like when there are left-wing protests, there are freelancers that attack them in order to have state repression without triggering the larger uprising that will come. Like if the police just went in there and just started like massacring people or busting heads.
Right.
So they already know that like they saw Dr. King. So they know that like when regular people see that face up, like they get too uncomfortable with it and they're like, whoa, what the fuck is happening here? Let's slow that down. Let's stop.
Right. So, like one of the things that's been upsetting and like radicalizing a lot of people that I talk to is like the police blatantly attacking journalists. They're like, what the fuck? Right. Like that's so crazy. And like seeing that, it's like whatever. But on the other hand, like some of the same people that can be really upset by that, when you like frame this shit, around these other like narratives, it's like a completely different reaction in terms of like, they're like, oh, well, we don't really know what happened. It's like, we know what happened. People were literally posting on Facebook shit. Like, I don't know if y'all saw this one, but this one guy posted like, if you're a predator, go to the Seattle Autonomous Zone because there's prey there. Like, just
God.
like,
it's fucking gross. And it's so par for the course. I mean, this is not the first and it will not be the last time they're just killing us for having an opinion.
Right.
I think, one of the more unique things about this situation is how long people held up the front before we started like surrendering and before they started really using like militarized violence beyond, the sort of standard like tear gas, rubber bullets, like things that will maim and maybe kill, as opposed to like really coming in and like forcibly breaking these things apart. But I mean, even then, it's the same general strategies they've been using forever. What makes this, in our lifetimes unique is how long it's lasted.
I think just to provide further historical perspective, because this part has been left unsaid so far and should probably just be said. Y'all understand that the cops like paid these gangbangers to go in there and start wilding.
100%.
I mean, every single person who organizes and does protests knows this, but I think normal people, everyday people, have no idea that's what's happening.
Right.
Or they think it's like a smallish phenomenon that's like relatively exaggerated.
Right, as
like
opposed to standard practice.
Go talk to the people that do a lot of protesting in your city. Even if you don't go out on the streets yourself, just find somebody who does and ask them, what's it like in this regard in terms of like these people? Who are these people? What kind of treatment are they getting from the cops? Where do these people come from, et cetera, et cetera? And you will find that it's like, this isn't like in a few places. This is every single city from like down to like towns of like 30,000 people and shit. Like the cops have like these, even smaller than that, the cops have these white nationalist groups that they're affiliated with. And the FBI did a report on this. You can go read about the infiltration of white nationalists into law enforcement. If you think I'm fucking crazy, you think, oh, you're just a leftist saying crazy, go look into the FBI, not exactly left wing, did a report into this. And Trump said, we're going to stop investigating this when he got into office. This was actually one of the more upsetting things that Trump did really early in his presidency that's not talked about enough, is like, he said, we're going to stop investigating this. We're done. We're not looking any further into this. So the FBI said, white nationalists are infiltrating law enforcement. Okay, so if they're infiltrating law enforcement, what does that mean? That means that they're associated with these white nationalist groups that are on the outside. And that when these white nationalist agitators come in, if at least a third of our cops are white nationalists, which is like on the low end of like what is reasonable to guess, then when these white nationalists come in from the outside, they're coming to help their friends. There's no fucking question about this shit.
Well, and we hear it like in reports from people on the ground all the time. You know, they're referring to white nationalists on police radio as friendlies. Like, they are not even really particularly hiding their allegiance with these people. You know, or every time you see like a large group of armed white nationalists defending a Confederate monument and the cops don't somehow manage to disperse them without tear gassing them, like somehow manage to actually engage with them like people. Every time a white nationalist shoots up a church and they manage to get him arrested without killing him, yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious. And it's a consistent problem that's been happening since before fucking Rodney King. We just haven't learned anything.
Yeah, so nobody needs to think that there was like a legitimate, oh boy, the violence just got out of control. Like, the violence is caused by police, and it's also caused, we haven't given them a shout out yet, but these property developers who were already suing the state, the city. And look, if I owned a business that had been fucking occupied by the autonomous zone, I'd probably be fucking pissed off about who are these weirdos that are here fucking playing hula hoop. I'm trying to get some money to survive the virus, whatever. I get that from a individualist perspective, but from a large-scale organizational perspective, you understand that these property owners are encouraging violence as quickly as possible to clear the area so that they can occupy those spaces and start making money. Because you got to realize, like, the chaz, the chop, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that is like, when we say like a free area, like literally think of how many public spaces are free, like in the sense of financially free, like you can just go and chill there, like outside of some libraries. So you're talking about like just an area where people are just hanging out. There's no business being done there. So obviously the people who were doing business there are fucking revolting against that. So that's like when I talk about—
why aren't they revolting? Ha ha ha
yeah,
ha. Because they're terrible people.
Yeah.
I agree with you though. And I think, one thing that these protests are trying to lay bare is all of these concepts of ownership, of money, of land occupation, like in terms of like who things belong to. It's like, no, these are all things that we've agreed on as a society.
Right.
And
come from God.
Right. These are, well, and let us not forget that a third of people in the United States genuinely believe this to be like, ordained by God himself. Yeah. Like Christian Jesus approves, right? But so, but I think, when a large part of the population starts claiming they own everything and then treating everybody else like shit, it's really actually reasonable and appropriate for that society to reconsider its values and reconsider, like, maybe you don't own everything, actually. Like Jeff Bezos only really owns whatever house he's in at the moment. We could take everything else away from him and he couldn't do shit about it if we decided to as a society.
Let me ask y'all a question.
Yeah.
And y'all are left-wing anarchical types. What if you're the mayor of Seattle? What should be done about that area?
Let them have it. Don't pick that fight. honestly.
I would simply not.
You won't
be
get
the mayor of
reelected, but
Seattle.
I would simply
you're
not
not going to get
be the mayor of
reelected either
Seattle.
way at this point. I don't think the mayor of Seattle has a fucking chance of getting reelected regardless of what happens.
No,
You know, but I think like
messy. It's over.
The least worst thing you can do at this point, from a moral standpoint, is just let them fucking have it. From like a business standpoint, from a career standpoint, I don't know. Probably you're going to brutally remove them because that way your donors will keep feeding you. But you know, who knows?
If I was the mayor of Seattle, I would turn everything in Seattle to community ownership in response to the CHOP. I would say, you guys have the right idea. Everything
I am dissolving the city
now. I'm dissolving the city.
But I mean, I think that's like, you know, valid question, right? Like, if you're in that position, what do you do? And I mean, if you put me in authority positions, I'm immediately going to side with the people every time. But if you are a career politician who has made it to mayor, who presumably has been in the game for a while, like, you don't get to that point without selling off a little bit of your soul, frankly. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's possible to do.
Here's the thing about ownership, and I'm probably finally going to talk about the Zapatistas maybe a little. Is that ownership only works if we all consent to it. Again, this is not holy writ. This isn't like something where you sign a contract, right? And then if you break that contract, you get struck by lightning. You know, God intervenes and, like, you know, it's over.
That would be cool though, because all of the billionaires had been dead. Like, they would have been dead for so long. They would never have been there in the first place. They create
the terms of these contracts too, so it's hard to say. But
I mean, I feel like if there was a just God out there smiting people, that never would have happened.
Sure.
Anyway,
that's, in reality, again, when you break a contract, there isn't a divine intervention that like upholds that contract. It's, you know, a system that we created, and our judicial system, similarly to everything else, is not perfect. It's not better than our other branches of government. I know a lot of people that kind of think, well, the executive and legislative branches are kind of fucked, but at least we still got the no. Get that out of your head, okay? So the judicial system is also fucked. So there's no perfect system that's waiting in the wings to enforce these rules. Ultimately, these rules are enforced by consent. And really, like, that's the way a lot of things, like, basically, in my opinion, everything works is by handshakes and consent. It's whatever people agree to. That's what's happening. That's the way the world is operating. And when people don't agree, that's like when people steal, right? So why do people not agree? Okay. Why do people like say, we're going to occupy this space, we're going to take it, even though rightfully it's not ours, according to the contracts that we all normally obey? You know, these like piles and piles of paperwork. Why do people not agree? Because they've been entirely disenfranchised. And so many people have been entirely disenfranchised from the system now that consent for the system of contracts and ownership and blah, blah is declining. And it's going to continue to decline until we have a better system. And if you look at like the Zapatista model, where literally everything is owned by the community that you live in, if you move to a new community within EZLN territory, you own part of this community that you live in. And like, you have a lot of freedom of what kind of work you want to do. You have a lot of autonomy, freedom of movement, freedom of expression, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When you put people in that kind of situation of ownership, then like, it turns out that they don't commit very much crime, because like, what do you steal when you own everything?
Do you mean to tell me that people who are personally invested in their community and in their neighbors are less likely to steal from each other, provided that their basic needs are always being met?
That's an interesting idea.
Do you mean to say becoming invested in your community creates a healthier, stronger community regardless of what else is going on economically? What? Didn't somebody at some point talk about alienation as a consequence of capitalism?
I don't know who that is.
Who was that?
But I don't know. Kennedy, do you think I feel like we should do an episode on the Zapatistas?
Yeah, definitely.
Can we please?
Podcast episode, because that way we can do and we can probably bring on a guest. We can just do all that stuff.
I'm not gonna lie, as like a big thing for this show, like when we talk about like being able to do big stuff, I would love for all of us to go to the EZLN. First of all, the Zapatistas love to have visitors. If you're watching this and you want to learn about the Zapatistas, you want to go see them up close, they love that. They're not one of those groups that's like,
they're not a fucking
outsiders.
Cult. Like, they're not a cult.
We don't. I mean, some people are distrustful of outsiders for legitimate reasons and decide not to, kind of like limit, certain things or whatever. But the Zapatista policy is that they want witnesses. They want people to come see what they're doing, to learn about it, and to bear witness to their existence so that the government is less likely to fucking wipe them out. Like if every anarchist or anarchic leaning person or left-wing socialist leaning person in America, we had all just been like, we're going to the chop the minute that it started, and we all just booked it there, they would not have been able to drive them out, right? Like, that's like the Zapatista model in a lot of ways, is like, if we can bring in enough people to our communities to live or just to visit, then the government cannot come in and wipe us out. And the Zapatistas have the same problem that we're having, for the record. And they've been doing this for 50 years, so they still have this problem, which is that right-wing militias are attacking them regularly and the government does nothing about it. So they are in a very tenuous situation all the time with that shit. So like, when you talk about like looking at situations like this and wanting to like learn how to like be able to prevent this shit in the future, like, these are the people to go learn from. Like, if you thought the chop was an amazing idea and you wish it was continuing in some way, these are the people to learn from, are the Zapatistas, because that's 400,000 fucking people in their chop,
And they made it durable. It's been going on for a quarter century now. This is not like a brand new settlement. I mean, there's also the Free Zone in France, I know, is another anarchist community that's held on for a really long time. So like these places exist. It's not completely unbelievable that something like that could also work here.
Correct.
And frankly, the way things are going, I think we're either going to have that or we're going to have like full on militarized fascism.
Right.
And
well,
I mean, we already like
isn't that kind of what
the
we're
way do, right?
It's pretty
right
now.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying that it can't get worse, but I'm just saying that, like, I think that the things that have been happening, like, right now during these movements are very telling of where we're at, and that they've been, like, just
the violence they are willing to employ to suppress
brutality. We're talking about mass lynchings written off as suicides. We're talking about, the cops are killing more people than all the violent gangs in America right now. All right. So all the violent gangs in America, you can look into this. Some people have done the math. All the violent gangs in America kill about 5.25 people per day. Okay. All right. The cops are killing about 6 people per day. So what justification, what could possibly be worth this? This is something I've been coming back to a lot when I think about this and when I talk about this. What could possibly be worth this? Nothing seems worth this. Nothing. I cannot imagine anything that would be worth having this apparatus of the state abuse us like this. It's completely you
hear a couple arguments in favor.
Be worth this.
It's like, well, what are you going to do when, like, you get raped? I hear that one a lot, especially from men who really love using, like, rape as a cudgel to get me to shut the fuck up. I can't imagine why. And, all I can say to that is, yeah, I got raped. They didn't help me. They were nowhere to be found. In fact, I didn't bother taking it to the cops at all because the time I was being stalked before I got raped, they literally told me it was my fault and threatened to arrest me when I spoke out of turn because I was upset about that. Like, literally, they are not our friends. They're not here to help us. And I am like the perfect image of the person they're supposed to help. I am an upper middle class, attractive white woman. Like, I am their prime demographic for, like, this is your delicate flower that must be preserved at all costs. And, like,
until you start talking.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I mean, it's obviously because, I have opinions or whatever. I don't play the victim right. But, like, it's such a bullshit thing, And people love to use, like, rape or murder or theft as though, like, those things don't get addressed by the community to begin with. How many different people know somebody who ended up in jail because somebody stole their shit and they went to get it back and the cops arrested them? Like...
Right. Right. I completely agree. And I just want to look, when it comes to, first of all, I've been sexually assaulted. No law enforcement helped me. So like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. But I also want to tell the story of a close friend. She literally had evidence that she knew the guy that has assaulted her. She had evidence that he had lured her to his apartment under false pretenses. She had a rape kit done. She had done all the things that you're supposed to do. She literally had like a case that, like, when you watch CSI and like they present like the case that they're about to bust the guy with or whatever, like she had everything that you would have in like your CSI show, right? And like the detective straight, and I like literally like spent all day with her at the hospital and like helped her through some of this stuff. And like the people that were helping were the medical staff, were the therapists, were all these other people. The people that were not helping at all were the cops. And like all throughout the entire process, they were not helpful at all. They were completely disrespectful. They were just like ridiculous. And like they told her point blank that they would not investigate this. That like basically she would have to like, if she really wanted this to be investigated, she would have to like basically hire like a private investigator, hire an attorney, seek her own suit for damages. And like, this is, again, she literally had a case that like, if you saw this on CSI, it'd be like, we got him, you know, sunglasses. Like, so, you know, when people talk about this
tell
stuff,
me that real life law enforcement doesn't function the way Coppa Gander does? I can't believe it.
Yeah. So right. So when people talk about this stuff, it's like the people that helped, medical staff, therapists, you know, in her particular case, like the religious community that she was in, you know what I mean? Like her community healed her and law enforcement did nothing. And so when people talk about who you're going to go to for help, I'm going to my community. Like, you know, I'm not going to.
Well, and that's like the only real place justice ever happens anyway. You know, justice doesn't happen at some giant structural level, right? This is like really basic political philosophy shit. Like, if you want to talk about justice, you have to talk about the interpersonal relationship. You know, that's like Levinas, that's fucking Hegel to a lesser extent. That's definitely like even Nietzsche, although he kind of rejected the idea that that should be a goal. That's like Martha Nussbaum. Like, every single person who's ever sat down and thought about how justice might work, it's like you have to deal with the person. You have to talk about how these two people, the one who harmed one and the one who was harmed, can work it out as a community with the community.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just so absurd that we have this weird mechanized vision of justice. And I mean, ultimately, it's because we need slaves. Like, that's just what it is. Like, we just need bodies in prisons to do work for cheap.
Well, I don't think we need slaves individually.
Well, yeah.
Although
we don't need slaves. It's because they need slaves.
We already have Lao. We already have Ren. I feel like our free labor needs have been taken care of. It's okay.
No, but yeah,
right. But like our society at this point does literally like function on that. Yeah. Like if we stopped all prison labor immediately, like we would be scrambling just as hard as we were for hand sanitizer. And in some cases, literally for hand sanitizer. Shout out to Andrew Cuomo, who literally just used prisoners to slap labels on hand sanitizer so that he might get reelected.
Yep.
Ren, please don't strike. We need you. Please. Ren, no. Please, Ren, no. Ren, no.
No. Take that off.
Put that, Ren.
Take that off. You put that on screen. The relationship between management and the workers is strong. There's no union needed at this show.
There's only one manager anyway, and it's Kennedy. It's fine.
That's right.
We have a dictator, and honestly,
no, I was elected by consensus.
Yeah, that is fair, actually. That's like it's unspoken consensus, still consensus. That's fine.
It's not unspoken. I think every single person has at some point been like, yes, Kennedy is in charge. And I'm like, okay, I guess so.
Well, it's like, and you know, this is true to life as
here's
well.
What we're doing
like
today.
Being in charge is being the person who does being in charge. You know, like it's an ownership you take of a project.
This reminds me of showing up to a protest with a megaphone. It's just like they've got to be smart as hell. Got a megaphone. Went to Party City, spent $8, They must be an activist or something. I
All
guess.
right, all right. Let me tell the real story, Flo Girl. I'll fill you in. What happened was 20 episodes into the podcast, I filed an LLC as not safe for wonks, and I did a hostile takeover. And everyone has just been kind of like, kissing the ring ever since, pretending like things are okay, But in reality, oh wait, no, I was thinking of Shank Uger and how he ran the Young Turks. I'm sorry.
We did a pro Shank post when Shank was in the middle of Shankgate. We were like, if you're gonna cancel Shank, cancel us too. And we were trying to have us back, and then like a week and a half later, he's union busted.
That was like the Bernie, the Democratic and Republican establishment can't stop us tweet, except for us. Like we were like, hey guys, let's
our comeuppance was swift.
And then 1 week later, he's like, by the way, I'm a union buster. And we're like, what the
we tried. We tried to have the teams back.
And now he's a resistance lib. It's terrible. He has the worst takes on Twitter.
We knew Shank was not totally on deck when he was doing some of the listening cheerleading. But however, I was like, all right. And this shows I'm a merciful person. I'm like, Katzenberg is giving him $10 million. Katzenberg is a Warren supporter. He's trying to be not okay. I'll sit through it. I don't watch. By the way, I haven't watched Young Turks in fucking years, but I was like, all right, I'll sit through it on the Twitter. It's fine. But there's fucking bounds of reason. I understand $10 million, but he's been wilding. And also, the union busting is like sin one.
It's way too much.
You can't rock with that.
You can't be a left-wing organization and union bust.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we do it as a bit, as a complete fucking farce, because
it's just unbelievable. It's like this fundamental betrayal of the ethos of being a leftist. Like the entire point is that we are trying to create a more equitable world where people are able to meaningfully negotiate power with each other at the interpersonal level. And you go around and you union bust, and you're basically saying, "Fuck you! I just want to be in charge for me." It's like that's not what we're here for. That's not what any of this is about. Never trust anybody who's trying to tell you what to do on the left politically and then busts a union ever, especially Shank. Fuck Shank.
Yeah, fuck that. If you're it's like, I think if you were trying to come up with a short list of things that people on the left can agree upon in general, is unions good would be on the list of 5 things that everyone on the left agrees on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous. It's so fucked up. It just makes me upset. And I just want to say, the Zoomers aren't here today, so we can really get into this. The reason why Shank kind of got a pass from us before some of this stuff about him union busting and then all the other shit and everything that he does now and blah blah was out there, was because if you remember back in 2012, left-wing media sucked. It was a crapshoot. Just to
Jon Stewart.
You would get people on the left would be listening to fringe Alex Jones network shows and shit because they were just looking for someone with a relatively progressive take out there. You know what I mean? People would be just looking for any kind of anything. And the Young Turks was definitely a beacon of light in a dark time in a lot of ways. And they talked positively about Occupy. They gave important information about a lot of important movements around the world, the Arab Spring and stuff like that. I got a lot of my information about that shit through the Young Turks at that time. So it was you kind of have a gratitude for that. But then eventually, Shank has just completely worn away all that sense of gratitude by just being a complete fuckhead, and that's the point that we're at now. But
confession. This is a dark moment for me. Speaking of lib media shit, I
love Pod Save.
I attended the rally to restore sanity.
Oh God, no! That was way worse than I expected. I thought you were gonna say, man, I love Pod Save when they came out, and I think a lot of people Like
I never really liked Pod Save. I listened to The Daily for a minute. Like I listened to that for a minute just for like bare bones news during my shower in the morning or whatever. But no.
I think during that time, I mean, if you were around during the Bush era, seeing a fucking pissed off fat Turkish guy talking about USA Today, a US safer, Bush says, USA Today, you suck. Like, it was so liberating to see, like, because being mad is just not allowed on the news, despite these like incredible outrages against justice.
Right.
So, like,
Right.
Well, they have to have this like weird sort of faux impartiality that like abandons completely amoral impartiality. And it's like, that's not real, you fucks.
So for somebody to just stop and be like, this is madness, this is not acceptable. That's what are you doing?
What are you doing,
breaking things,
Brandon?
I didn't do that. But anyway.
That one was me. Brandon,
cathartic. It's cathartic to have that sense of somebody else that's yelling and sees this shit's wrong. I think Keith Olbermann kind of blew up on being that person during the early Bush years. The Young Turks kind of blew up off that being that person during the later.
Bill Maher had some of that energy during Bush.
Bill Maher, I mean, I loved Bill Maher back in the day because he was fucking pissed off and he was a smart ass and he didn't let these fucking Republicans just walk over him. He was like, y'all are stupid. I was like, yeah, woo! Like,
and of course now I just couldn't think less of the guy hardly, but like, you know, it's just all of this stuff existed again and it's just like dark void of like, it's so like now it's so wonderful to be able to make a show like this, have people tune in, you know, on the regular, leave interesting comments, ask like funny questions, like, and just generally be engaged with like, you know, this stuff. And it's like whatever, and like we have other shows that we are friends with that we listen to and stuff, you know, like Street Fight. We're hanging out with Brian later today for episode 100, and like you know,
and like sometimes we talk with like Jake Flores. He's over at Pod Save America or Pod Damn America. Sorry, Jake, please forgive me.
The good one.
Pod Damn America is a great show.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we're not the only ones out here doing this.
But
yeah,
sure.
like,
and of course, Trap House fills that role of, ooh, I'm so mad today. Like I feel like that Chapo is right now. Which all of that is fine, and perhaps as the year goes on, we've been talking amongst each other that we have some ideas that will really piss people off, but we want to do it with like get our lives in order before like the shit really gets because we're probably gonna get people real pissed off.
Now I'm afraid because
we gotta get the conservative outrage
like, get my will together. I agree.
We need an article in like the National Review,
right?
Like, that's like the dream right now, you know, is to have like Ben Shapiro or somebody.
Mm-hmm.
This
we
podcast, nothing for long. They're just really unbelievable. You need to go look at this. Look at you see what they're saying over there. You're gonna freak out because these people they're mad. They're calling for the dissolution of American culture. They're calling for the dissolution of the American family.
All of the above.
That's what you want.
Yeah, when I think about it, there's not like a single tenet that motherfucker holds dear that I do not directly challenge in my everyday life. So yeah, I'm
Rachel, have you worked to attack and dethrone God, or is that you're gonna wait?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, is like I've been an atheist for so long that it's not even interesting to me to talk about. Like I figured out that I was an atheist in middle school, give or take. So for me, it's just like the background noise of my life. Like I was never angry at Christians for existing, like a lot of the anti-theists were, you know. I wasn't like raised in the church. I was raised by Jews who were traumatized out of being Jewish. So like we didn't really have religion in my house. We just sort of had like science.
Were you unbearable in high school?
God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. No, it took me, like, y'all think I'm extra now. Y'all think I'm annoying now.
All right, so we've talked about progressive commentary, push all the buttons. Do we have other shit that's in the news that y'all would like to? Would y'all like to talk about Russia?
I never want to talk about Russia.
Wow. Do y'all want to talk about?
Unless they literally bomb us, I don't care.
I feel ya. Do y'all want to talk?
I feel like whatever comment I make about Russia, some neolib will clip it and use it as proof that I'm a Russian plant.
Do y'all want to talk about the Lincoln Project for 5 minutes? I feel like that's an interesting.
Yeah, that's rad. Lay that out, Brandon.
The Lincoln Project is basically a lot of the ex-McCain team, as well as some other centrist Republicans. That, you know, when we talk about like the Republican culture, we always say like they don't care. They don't care about any of that shit. They don't care about the flag. They don't care about the troops. They don't care about, you know, the Lord. They just care about the reckless accumulation of power. So the Lincoln Project, when this Trump shit popped off, most of them are that small minority that still believes in that shit, like that 5 to 10% of Republicans that are statistically insignificant, but they're all over like the newspapers and the news channels and stuff because they're well off and have careers in the media. So they've been doing Trump ads for like, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 months. And they've been like aggressively normie ads, but they've also been very aggressive ads. You know, the stuff calling Trump a coward and scared of Putin, stuff about he's retweeting white power, stuff about, oh, he's flying the flag of treason, the Confederate flag, and how can he stand with these people? Those with honor folded that flag and swore never to fly it again. So it's kind of culturally normie whack shit. However, it's very well produced, and unlike Democrats, these Republicans are skilled at the art of evil and character assassination. So they are like assassinating Trump's character, and they're also attempting to do the Karl Rove strategy of pick out the thing that your opponent is strongest at and relentlessly attack them on that topic until they have no credibility. Right. And they've been doing that. Okay, but they also did Dick Cheney, Welcome to the Resistance, when they showed Dick Cheney wearing a mask. So you're getting some good and a lot of bad. What are y'all's thoughts on the Lincoln Project as a group?
I mean, I think saying that it's some good is kind of the inherent mistake of every single way anybody engages with Trump discourse. Like, attacking Trump is not a good thing. It is a fucking morally neutral thing at best. And I think in a lot of cases, going after Trump serves primarily to distract from the much worse systemic structural issues we have. So in a lot of cases, going after Trump actually is a net negative for how people are doing afterwards. And so frankly, fuck them. Morally neutral at best. I mean, no, they're morally bad overall. But even the parts where they're attacking Trump, like the part where they coincidentally are also attacking our enemy, it's not good. That part's morally neutral.
All right. Kennedy, what are your thoughts? In fact, I'm going to bring this back. I'll wait. Don't say anything. Now, all right, Kennedy. I added a question mark. So now the floor is yours. What are your thoughts on, have you seen any of their ads? Did you like the quality of production? How do you feel about them as a group, etc.? The floor is yours.
It's definitely like very like high quality normie political advertising.
Right.
Right. Like it's very like, you know, lots of B-roll of stuff that makes America look proud, you know, lots of, you know, like, is this the America you wanted kind of vibes, you know, like just that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's definitely, I don't think it's worth a damn necessarily. I will say it's kind of funny to watch these people though, because like, I just can't imagine wanting to be a part of such a politically non-viable niche. Like, you know, like
never Trump Republican, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the actually moral Republican. It's me. I'm the decent moderate Republican. I'm real and I exist. And it's like, okay, yeah, you are real. You do exist. You and your like 12 friends.
Your
like
12 consultants. Your 12 consultant friends. And I think the plan, like, how do these people win? Well, the plan is that Joe Biden like gives them a job, right?
I don't know, but I want to give one more really good take, which is that these people act like, and it's not just them. Like neolibs will even acknowledge, the moderate conservative, act like this group is really worth talking about, pandering to, etc. They literally have less people in Congress than the Squad, which is like who like everybody's always talking about is like, oh, you progressives, you just have like the Squad. What else do you have in terms of like Congress? We literally have more people in Congress than the moderate conservatives.
It's wild how they hold us to a completely different and higher standard.
Moderate conservative voice in Congress that's like really making waves and is like repping that anti-Trump flag. Most of the quote unquote moderate conservatives won't even do the anti-Trump thing. They just kind of quietly shut up and just like basically try to like not exist. Be like as least famous as you can be while being a member of the federal government. Just like have no profile at all.
Yeah. These ads, I mean, they're good ads. Like I work in marketing. So just from a sales perspective, they're well-made ads. And it's good because Democrats are so bad at it. It actually makes me madder at Democrats because these are like regular people with no ideology at all. And they can make an attack ad. So what is the problem with the Democrats, and why are they historically so bad at this? I will give Biden some small amount of credit. The 2 or 3 Trump attack ads that I have seen have been like pretty decent. But there's definitely been like no just slamming it down on Trump in the way that the Lincoln people have. But goddamn, this is just getting worse and worse. Yeah, the Lincoln Project, unironically, like better than the Democrats at the thing that the Democrats say that they want to be, which is just like we're mad at Trump, and attacking. And that
it's kind of funny from that perspective.
That's fucking sad. Like,
yeah.
I say this a lot, and people get really mad at me for it. But in a lot of ways, I have more respect for Republicans than Democrats. Like, they're fucking evil, but at least they own that. At least they have like a clear, consistent moral imperative in the form of like, fuck poor people, I want money. And like, that is honestly more than the average Democrat has. The average Democrat has like tickets to Hamilton and a dream, and that's about it.
Wow.
Am I wrong?
No.
Just a quick note. This podcast is sponsored by Raid Shadow
God,
Legends.
no.
Sponsored by the Lincoln Project, Republican quality ads in the form of an anti-Trump coalition. You're getting the best of both worlds.
Get that off the screen.
Download Raid Shadow Legends and visit the Lincoln Project on YouTube.
Get that off the screen. This podcast was sponsored by Garfield.
Oh my God.
Wow, we have such a serious, real high quality stream going today, y'all.
It's amazing that we like do all this work in production quality. Like
we use it for this, yeah.
Gifts of drunk Garfield staggering around in a toga.
I don't even think about it. We're all just drunk Garfield.
We're all just drunk Garfield staggering around in a toga.
That's right.
Looking at shadows on the wall of the cave. Are the shadows real life or?
So listen, y'all, typically we love to go the full hour chopping it up. And sometimes we like to go longer, but this is a special time because we're nearing our 1-year anniversary. We're working on our 100th episode, which is going to be our biggest episode we've ever done.
By a lot.
It's a monster thing.
I'm with Murasaki on this one. No more free plugs.
Great Shadow Legends doesn't need us. We need them to be inspired.
To notice us, please.
Yeah. Sponsor us, Great Shadow Legends. We'll do it. But yeah, we're working on episode 100, and that process continues. So we try to get off like 10 minutes early so that we can like work extra hard on that for y'all. But if you want
off crystals,
Yeah. So if you want to join in that work, patreon.com/notsafe.
Go to patreon.com/notsafe, and we will eventually fund a trip to the EZLN. And we will visit the Zapatistas in Mexico, and we'll film it, and we'll record it and we'll do interviews and it'll be the fucking coolest thing you've ever seen in your life. So give us $1.
The greatest all gas, no brakes segment ever made.
We'll get all gas, no brakes to come with us.
That sounds great. If you go to the Patreon and donate any amount, Kennedy will leave the podcast and Bananity will enter. Much cuter, much better takes, just the superior version. So if you were watching this and you were like, I need to really balance out the Garfield gifs and the dog gifs and the layouts, I really need someone in a banana suit. Patreon.com/notsafe. Any Patreon donation will get you some banana fun times. That is our word to you. So thank you for watching. We'll do this again tomorrow, same time. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.